AdWords is what the Google product is. And like I said in the beginning, we don't talk much about Bing and Yahoo because they drive a smaller percentage. We'll talk about AdWords. And AdWords offers all three of the different types of advertising models we talked about, right? CPA, CPC, CPM. Now we're clear on the terms. We're clear on the CTR rates. We know that it's very low. Okay? So what is our process? What is the strategy? Right? What is the strategy that we're going to go after? Again, this is how we put together a strategy. It's a 10-step process. And what do the 10 steps look like, right? So it starts with keyword research, obviously. Moving up to setting up your account, creating your landing page, creating your ads, tracking and installation, right? Tracking, installation, and testing. And then campaign launch. Ultimately moving to your A/B split test, monitoring your performance on how your campaigns are doing, campaign assessment, and analysis and feedback. Just that this is what the process will look like. And when you start with research, it's going to end with analysis and feedback. And that's why it's a circle, because after 10, 1 goes back, right? You come back to 1. And this is a continuously the same process that keeps on running. First step, keyword research. How do you know what keywords to go after? Because you can't just blindly say, I'm going to target this keyword. So here's some few pointers. First suggestion, don't sit down and come up with 2 or 3 keywords. Brainstorm a list of them. Come up with a huge list. Sit in a room, maybe with a few people. Think of all the ways a customer may want to search for you or your product or your service. Use a keyword research tool. There's actually tools that we're going to look at today from Google that we can use. And these research tools, right, basically tell you how many clicks you can expect from the keyword, what are the rates you have to pay for those keywords, all that kind of stuff they'll give you an indication on. Use an analysis tool to come up with keyword phrases. So here's the difference. You can either target keywords or you can target keyword phrases. Suggestion is keyword phrases works better. So once you've identified your keywords, you use tools to figure out what phrases should work better.
So will this keyword analysis tool will be helpful to make a content of a website? Like, we should first we should analyze some phrases, put those phrases in content so that it will be better in the keyword search option.
Obviously. So it all ties in together, right? So do you create that content? Once you choose your keywords and keyword phrases, yes, it should also be part of your content. So make sure you go out and use some tools to come up with the keyword phrases you want to use.
How do you mean by phrases and keywords?
So keyword can simply be diamond jewelry. Correct? And then guess what the phrase would be?
Diamond is forever.
You're getting the point. So that's the difference between the keyword itself and the phrase. And a phrase usually works better. And when we go through setting this up, you'll see why. Verify that the keyword phrase is relevant. Don't just come up with a phrase and say, yeah, this is nice. It has to be relevant to what you're selling, what you're doing. Then look at the search volume. So you use the tools to figure out what the search volume for each one of those phrases is. Because you have to understand if there's even customer demand for it. What if there's no demand? You come up with a phrase, but nobody's searching for it, right? You get to know how many people in the last week, 10 days, whatever month have searched for some similar keyword. It's not that you just blindly decide, main yahi karunga. There's actually whole research that will go behind it. You will choose. Then again, search volume is very important because it tells you consumer demand. Is people even looking for that keyword? Because we can think of something, but others may not even know it.
When I do a search, it will throw up how many people are searching for a word. Let's assume I invent something new, and I'm not. It is not there in the keyword. So, will that be indicative of my value proposition also?
Either that or that you've come up with something that has no demand.
Both ways.
Yeah, it could be either way. Yes, you can be inventing, innovating, or it could be the other side, right? That there's actually no real demand for it. Yeah. So it could be a possibility on both sides. Yes, absolutely. Last step on your keyword research. Look at the competitive space. Okay? Look for keywords and keyword phrases with lower competition. If it has demand, but this competition is lower, I'd rather go for that than to have very high competitive keywords or keyword phrases, because the cost would be tremendous. We earlier looked at diamond jewelry, we searched for it. You saw there were 4 advertisers already on top. That's a hugely competitive keyword, right? I would not go after it because unless I think I have enough value proposition to give.
So, but the highly competitive phrase would be the easiest to come in a person's mind, na?
Correct.
So how can we not ignore that? I mean, how can we ignore that?
It's all about cost. Are you ready to pay? We're not saying that you shouldn't do it. Cost thing is, this whole concept strategy is based on what kind of budgets you have. Are you willing to spend that kind of money? I gave an example. In the US, sometimes a very top keyword will go to almost $100 a click. Are you willing to spend 6,500 rupees a click? I understand you get traffic, but are you willing to spend that kind of money? So it's all matter of cost. So if your budget is there, yes, absolutely try it. Okay? But if your budget is lesser, you go after the lesser competitive. There's a concept that we also use multiple times. At times, instead of one keyword, we would find 20 phrases, and combined, did the traffic come close to that one keyword and still my cost be same or lower, right? It's same way. I'm going to end up getting similar traffic. May not be getting that much traffic, but similar traffic, but I've reduced my costs.
Yeah, to answer this question in a different way, we could always look at budgeting the costly versus the lower end. So I will say I have 100 rupees, so I will use say 20 or 30% for it to look at the high cost and then look at. So we can have a mix match of both. That will be part of the strategy that we will work on.
Correct. Again, it all depends on you. Like he's right. He can use a strategy where 20-30% of his budget goes one way and the 70-80% goes the other way. Okay, but again, it would have to depend on your business what it is.
Previous slides we discussed the hit ratios and the percentage CPRs. I've have some personal issues with this because I've seen a lot of jobs happening. You would have heard it often, like pay per click. There are people who make money out of it. How often would my keyword would be just clicked? I am the one who's paying for it. So, there's somebody just making money out of this. So, end of it, how reliable is this CPR? And, I may have chosen the best words for my business, but somebody is just, they are not organic customers. They are making money out of it.
So, Google is starting, and not starting, it has already started a while back, a program where it tracks, and if it sees too many clicks come too fast, they'll reduce the number of clicks by themselves. Second, if they see that somebody's spamming, meaning, or they're just trying to make this a business where they're clicking away, then they'll just block that IP. They have started doing that and they won't charge you for it. Okay? So as an advertiser, they're putting a lot of checks and balances because you know what? The best way for a competitor to get you out of business is to just get people to hire a few people, keep on clicking your ads until you run out of budget. When budget runs out, he gets the first position.
But was that a regulated business model? I mean, somebody had started like offering jobs to people, sit on your computer and...
Yeah, so there were companies that were doing that for a living, yes.
It's a business model.
Right, it is their business model. Now, obviously, everything that has a loophole, there's a business model around it, right? So now the loophole is pretty much closed, right? Now, if you try to do it, first of all, they block you. Second, as an advertiser, we have lesser to worry about because you know what? Google won't charge us. Even earlier, I remember for us, when it happened, we sent a request to Google, Google refunded the money, okay? We told them that, look, this IP we're constantly getting clicks from, okay? And they're not going anywhere because we can track. So we sent them a report. They obviously said, yes, this must be somebody just trying to mess around. And they refunded our CPC costs. Yeah. But now it's a program. Now it's a full-fledged program, so you don't have to worry about it much. Find phrases, keywords that are lower in competition. It'll reduce your budgets. Higher the competition, more you're going to be paying per click. And by the way, we mentioned this is a bidding system. Not necessarily if you're ready to pay, then somebody else is not ready to pay. They will also pay. And when a keyword goes up in 1,000 plus, it's because 2 or 3 competitors are constantly bidding it up. And this is the easiest step, and we'll do this in detail later on. which is setting up your Google account. The only thing I want to talk about here is what is the structure of the account. Because before we get in there, you need to understand how ads are created inside Google. So it starts off by the account itself, right? The AdWords account. Then the next step is the ad campaign. We create a campaign. And in each campaign, we'll create ad groups. And in each ad groups, we'll add keywords. Okay, this is the hierarchy. Just remember, it's not anything you'll need right now. Okay, when we get into setting this up, you just need to remember there's a hierarchy of your account, your campaign, your group, and then ultimately your keyword. Your keyword, your ad, your landing page, etc. For the people that have for the first time listening about AdWords, is this okay right now? I'm not saying you completely understand it, but when we get to it, at least you have a concept of what the hierarchy looks like. The reason I put this slide, by the way, is when I first started using AdWords, and even recently when I was redoing AdWords, it was confusing to me too. Hierarchy kya hai? And so I said, you know what, let me put it on a slide, make sure that you know that there is a hierarchy. So first we'll be setting up the account, then we'll be setting up the campaign, then we'll be setting up the ad group, and under the ad groups, we'll put the keywords, the ad text, etc., etc., etc. Okay, just for your information. Now, obviously, once you've got your account set up and before you create your ad, and this is before you create, you need to have your landing pages done. Okay? Guys, do you know what landing pages are? Yeah. Yes? What are those?
You post an ad on Google, and the person who is interested, he clicks, and the link redirects to the page where the desired product, whatever he wants to see, is from your website. It's not the home page, but it's a part of your website.
It could be your homepage. Landing page can be any page. Okay? It's a page where a person comes once they have clicked any of your ads, let's say, or in case of social media, any of your posts, etc. So landing pages are not limited to just Google Ads, but it can be any other types of advertising we're doing. But it's a page where they land at. I mean, look at the word, right? Landing. So it's a page where they land at.
So you're putting a link and goes to a page.
So when we put an ad, right? When you see Google Ads, right? When you click it, what happens?
Goes to a page.
Correct. That's called a landing page. Very simple. All right? And here's some concepts around the landing page. We need to make sure that we follow some rules when creating the landing pages, because otherwise your ad money is going to go to waste. Because if the landing pages are not right, nobody's buying anything from you. Okay? So here's a few things. Okay? Convince the customer to convert. Okay? Our goal is that. Ultimately, they need to convert. Now, if they are able to convert, okay, it's going to lower your costs. For every 100 rupees spent, if more people convert, our per customer cost goes down. We need to create specific landing pages and not generic ones for every campaign or even keyword that we have. Okay? It cannot be one landing page. Sabko ek hi jagah liya hai. Because think about it. Right? Let's say we had put a search of ethnic kurtis. If somebody is coming from ethnic kurtis versus somebody coming from ethnic dresses, the landing page should be too different. They're both ethnic. They may show similar products. But you know what? The dresses person has not decided if they're buying a full dress, a top, a bottom, or what. Versus somebody that comes from ethnic kurtis. And they've decided that they're buying a top, right? They're buying a kurti. So their landing page would be substantially different. So make sure landing pages are not generic. People think this is the easiest way out. They make one landing page for all their ad campaigns. Make sure it's relevant to the keywords, which is, again, we already talked about this. Another big point, keep on saying it, and I'll keep on saying it till the end of the classes. Make sure it's mobile ready. Don't make a landing page that cannot be opened on a mobile, because remember, we keep on saying so many of the ad revenue is being driven from the mobile. So many of the searches are being done from a mobile. Why would our landing page not be mobile ready? Okay? Make sure of that. Make sure your top headline on the landing page is a very powerful headline. It's something that should capture their attention as soon as they land there. One of the best ones, or the better ones that I've found, and this is something I remember just from memory. When I went to that page, they made sure that they had answered a question that I had gotten because I saw the ad. So let's say I see an ad, and there's a question that pops up in your head, right? And you click, you go there. One thing is you show the products, The other is first answer the question and then they'll show the products. They were able to get my attention because they answered the question that they had generated because they had created such a nice copy on the ad that they knew that most people would have a question. And that question was the first thing they answered on the headline. So create powerful headlines. Clear and concise copy. Make sure this page is not very complicated. There's not too much going on. You want to bring them here. You want to get them convinced, and then they can go further. So make sure that the copy is clear and concise. Again, like other content we talked about, use bullet points, bold text, other content elements. Remember we talked about in content? How do you get people's attention to certain things? You underline it, you bold it, right? And all of that, same thing goes here. On this page, you want to make sure you keep them. Okay? Then your conversion rates will be much higher. Make sure we have our call to action buttons. Just like we talked about in content strategy. This is just like that. Okay? The other thing, make sure you have a clickable phone number. Why am I asking for a clickable phone number?
It's very easy to call
Lazy. People are lazy to dial.
They can call through.
from the mobile. Yeah.
Because most people are going to come through a mobile. And it's the easiest way. If the number is clickable, I click it, my phone dials. So it's a simple link. You give it, you click it, your phone starts to dial. It's a small thing, but works wonders. An ability to get the customer to call you. Okay? And then, obviously, install proper tracking. We're going to be talking about this in Google Analytics, how to install tracking, but make sure that these pages carry tracking so that you can see who's come, what did they do, why did they leave, how long did they stay, and all the questions that we want answered, we'll have tracking for it. We need to plan on creating our ad. Okay, and please don't just sit down one day and go right into the account and start creating an ad like we'll do in the demo. Demo is to show you how to use the system. Okay, that's not the process to follow. It's actually a process not to follow because there's nothing planned. You need to plan it this way. Okay, so basically, if you're creating an ad in Google, Bing, and Yahoo, it's pretty similar. And what you're trying to do is attract attention, raise customer interest in the ad, convince the customer to desire your product or service. And it has to be something there that makes them want it. And you know what? I don't think anybody can tell you that except yourself, because if you are selling that product or service, you should know how to get your customer to desire that. And the word desire is probably best describing the feeling they should get. Car companies do this beautifully. One of the best examples are car companies. You see their ads, man, your desire to have that damn car, whatever it is, right? Sometimes you may not even like the brand, but just the way the ad comes out at you, you say, shayad I should have that. Right now, you think later ki paise hain, nahi hai, car abhi to kharidi thi. You have 100 other things. But you know what? They've done such a good job. Exactly. They're making you desire that. Who does another good job of this, by the way? iPhone. Great. Chocolate companies. Forget even all food. Look at ice cream and chocolates. Man, even if you're like allergic to chocolate, you see the ad and you say, ek baar to try kar hi lete. Right? That's how it is. That's the kind of ad you need to think of, right? For your product or service. And I'm being realistic, right? Your ad has to be that desirable. I know you're thinking that big ad agencies come up with this stuff, but even at big ad agencies, there's some young kid coming up with this. I'm sure that if you believe in your product or service enough, and you have a little bit of creativity, you can at least start. And then when you get to a bigger scale and afford a large company, you can give it to them to do.
We're talking about technical things. Will desire have an influence?
Absolutely.
Technical matters?
Yeah. So here's an example. I don't go exactly in your product. Let's say we're talking about a B2B space. Now, as a factory owner, right? As a factory owner, wouldn't I want to have the latest and greatest machine? I may not be able to afford it. I may not have the space for it. But I I want that German technology. You know, there's a whole concept of German technology. Now, imagine an ad out there talks about German technology, latest and greatest, and it reduces your lead time from 3 days to 1 day and whatever. Now, suddenly, the whole desire quotient just goes up. It's not food. It's not something I wear. But you know what? Desire quotient can be built anywhere. It be B2B, a product, a technical product. Anything. I'll give you an example. I've seen this in social causes as well. So not social. When initially the windmill power generators were coming, you saw some of those ads. You wanted to put one yourself because you believe you felt so good that it was doing good for the environment, and I was going to be able to be carbon negative, positive, whatever. Right? I wanted to have it. So that's a desire, right? It has nothing to do with what I will own or have it be mine, but desire can be built anywhere. Make sure, right, you make your customer desire your product or service. Make sure your ad also has a call to action. Don't put an ad out there with an open end. Tell them to do something. Book now, click here, buy now, whatever. Whichever call to action you want. But don't leave it blank. Don't give an ad and don't tell them what to do next. We just talked about it in email marketing as well, right? Don't leave it open-ended. Tell them how to close that loop.
So can this desire be created or generated only via TV advertisements?
No, it could be on print, it could be by text, it could be by anything. You just have to be creative enough to do it. I am not a very creative person, but I can spot all of these very easy. Even in text, they can write 2 lines, and believe me, you read those 2 lines and you want that product or you want to know more about it. Maybe you don't know the product, but you want to know more about it. You've seen those ads come through in newspaper also, right? They put a damn blank thing in there and say, turn over to see. That's all desire. Boom, I turn over, now I know what the product was or service was. Until then, I didn't even know. Others have done it over days. Keep on publishing something, keep on publishing something, keep on publishing something, and you don't know what it is until like the 5th day. And you're like, oh, okay. By then, you may or may not engage with the product, but it's okay. It was fun to go through the process. They at least got good engagement from it. So the desire, it doesn't have to be TV. It can be any other medium. I'll give you another example. Desire, just recent that I saw, Pepsi launching those custom emojis. So now, if you see that custom emojis on his desk with his face, don't you think you would desire to have it? Very beautiful way to create desire on their end. These are just recent examples. Make sure, call to action. Give them a way to do something. Customer satisfaction. If they click the link, will they be satisfied? So it goes back to your landing page. And that's why in the process, landing page comes first, ad creation comes next. Because by now, you know what you're offering on the landing page. Your ad has to be accordingly, or your landing page will change. But if they click, make sure they're satisfied. And lastly, don't mislead them. The landing page has to be relevant. Just like we talked about in email marketing, don't create a statement which is actually misleading. You'll become a millionaire by clicking this link. So by the way, they're very famous public speakers. They say all this stuff. And I wonder, how the hell are they saying it? They say it. And they're very big names. We change your lives. Listen, if they could change everybody's lives, yes. Why the hell are they working? So, we have our landing page ready. We've gone out and done our research on ad. And we're going to have our ad pretty much ready. In the sense, what do we want on that ad? Because when we set it up, we're going to set it up inside, let's say, Google AdWords. If it has an image, if it's an image-based ad, you would have probably created the image by now, based on all of these different things we talked about. Again, tracking installation and testing. This is something we're going to implement Google Analytics. I'm not going to do it right now. I just want that the step is there. Okay, make sure your tracking is installed on your web pages, on your landing page, everywhere else you can imagine. Launching your campaign. Again, this step is also quick because I'll show you in demo how to launch your campaign. Then comes your A/B testing. I keep on saying it. Keep on saying it again. You keep on doing A/B testing forever. You don't stop. Okay? You don't have to do 50-50. You can do 70-30, 80-20, whatever way you want to test, but you keep on doing this. And at each place, you monitor your performance. How are things doing? What are the click-through ratios that are coming through from each one of our ads? Which keywords are performing better? In the A/B test, what is doing better? Which content copy is doing better? Okay? It's a constant monitoring. This is not a step. So as soon as a campaign is launched, you keep on monitoring it. Okay? How many people are staying? How many people are leaving? All the analytics you're going to keep on monitoring. Ultimately, what's happened is today, and this is something new, not only are advertisers only able to see conversions, but they're also able to monitor their leads. Okay? Here's an example, right? So a person clicks on an ad, okay, and they purchase something, versus somebody clicks on an ad and then downloads the catalog. There's 2 converted clicks and there's 3 purchases that have happened. What used to happen is most people would just track, but today in all the tracking mechanisms, it gives you the breakup. It tells you what the leads are and what your conversions are. So here's just a brief example of how it looks. It talks about ultimately how they got 2 unique sales and 1 unique lead out of the 3 conversions. Once campaign is launched, it's running, it's at one point, it's going to come to an end. And this is the stage which is called a campaign assessment, where you're going to sit down and you're going to look how your campaign did overall. And remember, in each campaign, you have multiple ads that may be running. Remember I showed you the hierarchy? So each campaign may be running several keywords, several different types of ads. It may be running text ads, it may be running image ads, all kinds of things. Ultimately, you'll have an assessment done on the campaign itself.
Point 1 to point campaign assessment. Is there a timeline that we look for, say 90 days, 180 days time?
No. So I don't think any campaign you would run for that long, in my opinion. That's not a set thing in stone. I don't think initially, especially, you would run campaigns beyond a month. Right? Even that to me is a long time. You may have already either spent too much money. I would look at weekly assessments of how campaigns are doing, and ultimately fix and then relaunch based on the learnings.
But week might be, sometimes depending upon a product, the data that we might have might be very less.
Correct.
So would that data be good enough for us to take a judgment?
Again, it depends what keyword you chose, how often people are using that keyword, how many people are coming. Yeah, if 5 people came, first of all, I'm worried because 5 people came. So forget the data is low, I would change the campaign anyway. So that's the assessment about, right? Did my assumptions work? So maybe week, maybe 15 days, maybe a month. It really doesn't matter. It's you who takes that call. But your campaign has to be assessed at this point. And ultimately, you reach step 10, which is analysis and feedback. This is where you will fix everything that went wrong and keep everything that was right. In this, several things will happen. You will give feedback to your copy people, your content people, saying, look, this type of content is working. I want more of this. You will give that feedback to your design team and say, look, these kinds of images are working better. Give me more of these. So this is the time for you to provide feedback to the teams as well. So if you have multiple people, and which you will have involved, maybe it's an external agency or whatever, but you'll have multiple people involved. The other thing that will happen, in case our keywords are wrong, or we found our keywords are not working, we're going to reanalyze. We're going to go back to step 1 and figure out what are the new sets of keywords that work. Now, here are some of the things you will measure to see what the success of your campaign was. First thing is called a quality score. This is what Google gives you. This has many factors that they considered, right? They look at your click-through rate, they look at the relevance of the keyword to the search, and then they look at the quality of the landing page to give you a quality score. This is a very important score. Okay? This is your first factor to know how successful your campaign was. What is the score you got from Google? Google also adjusts what you pay per click based on this score. Okay? This is something that they've evolved over time. It used to be very simple. Now they look at the score to calculate cost per clicks. Because what they want is the best experience for people clicking. And second is, how do they generate max revenue? And max revenue generation can only come if people are satisfied with their searches. Now, obviously, other couple of things that you will look at is your conversion rate. How many people converted, right? How many people ultimately either signed up for your registration or bought a product or whatever. Then cost per conversion. How much did it cost you for every conversion you got? Remember that calculation I told you? From the click-through rates to ultimately what you're paying per click. What is that cost that came to you per conversion? In some cases, it's per conversion. In some cases, it's per dollar converted or per rupee converted. Because if you are in lower-end products, it's going to make a huge difference to look at cost per rupee converted, not cost per conversion. क्योंकि अगर वो 100 रुपए का प्रोडक्ट खरीद रहा है और मेरा conversion cost is 100 rupees, hell, I lost money. And this is what happened to our e-commerce players, right? Their cost to conversion was higher or same, in most cases actually higher than even the cost of the product. You obviously lose money. So you have to do those calculations. And then, opposite of your conversion rate, what was your wasted spend? Where should you have not spent? Because now that you have the assessment from a full campaign, you've learned, you can actually see where are the places you should not have spent. These are probably places where people came but bought nothing. Let's say your conversions were just horrible. Then more than likely, that's a wasted spend. Because there are some keywords that will drive traffic to you. Ultimately, you won't get anything from it. And that's called a wasted spend.